I'm Greg Moser. I'm the Director of Materials Management. Wow. I know this probably this line's used a lot, but it's probably because it's true. It's just the folks you work with. I mean, especially when you've been here for 43 years, you find out that it's not just going to work. These are your friends. So you're going to work with your friends every day. It's no different than if I was at home working on a project on a weekend with a friend. That's kind of what it is here. You're coming to work with your friends every day. So that it kind of makes it tolerable. It's not a job anymore. You know everyone, and you enjoy working with folks. I've been here in Batesville my entire life. Born and raised here. When I was about 6 years old, I spent my summers out in LA. My mother and stepfather lived out there, and so I would spend the summers. And you know, back in LA when you're in the 70s and a kid spending your summers there, that was a great gig, you know. Chasing grandkids. That's pretty much what I do when I'm not here at work. I like to camp. We've got 5 grandchildren, 3 here in town, 2 in Little Rock. So we're camping or we're following sporting events. Got a 15-year-old granddaughter that's been playing travel softball since she was 8, so we're just running every weekend. So finally had to get a camper just to keep up with her, and so that's turned into more family outings. But that's probably my, if you call it a hobby, yeah, family fun. Well, I think you know my wife, Paula. She worked here at the hospital for 15 or 16 years, I believe, and in the HR department. She now works benefits for Toro since they took over the Spartan Group. We've been married quite some time, and she keeps my honey-do list going all the time. I mean, she's probably right now thinking, in fact, I think she told me this morning some things that she was thinking that I could work on this weekend. So I have, again, 3 grandchildren here in town. I have a daughter and son-in-law here in town. See the grandkids every day. Still get up in the morning, run by the house and pick up the 15-year-old, drop her off at school. Sometimes also take the 7 and 8-year-old. Kind of get your day started off right. And we've got a daughter and son-in-law and 2 grandkids in Little Rock. Don't get to see them as often. We were down there last weekend, so we try to make a trip down and spend a weekend every month or 2 and see those because, yeah, that's important stuff, you know. Well, I would say probably just their demeanor when you first meet them. I mean, you can tell a lot about someone, about their personality when you meet them. You know, are they friendly, outgoing, someone you can work with, or are they a little bit uptight, let's say? So I mean, you can see a lot just in a smile. You know, how they introduce themselves, and so you can kind of know how things are going to go from there. Yeah, I don't claim to be that talented, but I do things that a lot of projects around the house. Obviously, a lot of honeydews, and we do any kind of remodeling projects or done some add-ons and building decks. It's not that I claim that I'm so talented in those, but I think I mentioned earlier I'm kind of frugal enough that I'll learn to do anything. I kind of grew up that way. You know, as my dad always taught me, if we needed a ditch dug, we never hired a backhoe. We got a shovel and a pick and we went and dug the ditch. So that's kind of how I'm with my building projects. I'm not an expert at any of it, but I'm not afraid to learn and do it myself. So always got something going on around the house. My wife Paula can make sure that list is never empty. Well, that kind of goes back to the grandkids again. You know, it could be any campsite is going to be fun with the grandkids. So now, as far as a formal vacation, the grandkids typically like to go to places like Gulf Shores, and they prefer to leave the camper at home and maybe get a condo for those. But that's probably their favorite out-of-state place to go. But yeah, just nothing better than a campground. You asked me my title of, and I said Director of Materials Management, but my 8-year-old granddaughter, she constantly tells me that I'm the best papa ever. So there's no better title than that. And so I'll take that one above Director of Materials and everything else. Best papa ever. That's nothing better than that. But the most important things to me is my faith and my family. There's nothing else. I mean, without those two, then what's the purpose? What's the purpose of life? So that's where I try to stay focused. And it's hard to do when you work. You spend a lot of time at work, but I try never to neglect the family time. I mean, as a man, I think you grew up thinking the man needs to go support the family, be provider for the family. You just can't get over focused and say, this is my life. It's work. You've got to remember the reason you work, and the reason I work, the reason I'm not retired, is family. There's things I want to do with the family and for the family, and so that's the most important things to me. Now that one I thought about too, and I'm kind of a Beatles fan, and have been forever. And John Lennon was probably one of my favorite Beatles, and he wrote a song when one of his sons was born called "Beautiful Boy." Now this wasn't a quote from him; it was contributed to someone else. I can't remember the guy's name. Maybe Alan Saunders. It may have been a writer or something. But in the song, it just says, "Life is what happens while you're busy making other plans." And it goes back to the same theme that I keep talking about, that you can get too focused on the wrong things and you forget the important things. So you got to remember the important things. That was, when I saw that question, that really, boy, you had to really think. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier about as you get older, you start having a different perspective on things. And so I thought about that, and I thought, everybody knows the movie Ferris Bueller. And in one line, he talks about how life is moving really fast. And if you don't stop every now and then and look around, you might miss it. And I'm thinking, as you get older, that you start thinking more about that. And that's something we all struggle with. And let's go back to what I was saying about that work and family life. You gotta set your priorities, and you want to do your job at work the best to your abilities, but you can't forget what's important over here and why you're working. So, well, caring beyond healthcare. I mean, everything we do here. I mean, we're kind of in the background. Obviously, in materials, we're sometimes a little bit misunderstood. I mean, we're working on, from a supply and equipment standpoint, we're looking at the financials for the hospital and financial security for the hospital. So, when I say it's kind of misunderstood, sometimes we kind of can come across as trying to push people in this direction. Here, we need to use this or that. And I always tell people I can never make the clinical argument. I always just try to make the financial argument. And so caring beyond healthcare is basically the community needs this hospital. We need to be here for the community, and so we can do our little part down here in materials to make sure that the clinical staff have the products they need to care for our patients, and try to do it financially in a good way that is best for the hospital, so that we can be here for years to come.